In this series of videos, I will go through all the built-in functions of Python with the description of how to use them. This video contains built-in functions that start with letter A. The imported library functions and classes are written using these built-in functions only. So, you can consider this as a foundation of the entire Python language. Watch this video till the end, as I will also give real project examples where these functions might be useful wherever I can. My name is Aditya Shenoy from Brainy, where I make programming simple and fun. YouTube statistics show that a small percentage of you who watch my videos are actually subscribed to this channel, so if you end up liking this video, please consider subscribing. It's free and you can always change your mind in future. The first function is the abs function. No, it is not the abdominal muscles, it is the absolute function. This function takes one parameter. If we pass an integer or a float value to the absolute function, it returns the same number without its sign. That is, it makes it positive. Let's see it's working. I will pass some random integers to this function like this, absolute of 5 and absolute of -1. Let's run this and it returns me 5 and 1. Notice that positive integers are returned as it is and negative integers are made positive and then returned. Similarly, if we pass a floating value, say 0.1 and say -5.2, it will still return positive for positive and it will return positive for negative floating values as well. If we pass a complex number to this function like this, say 1 plus 2j, 1 here is for real axis and 2 is for imaginary axis. Then this function returns the magnitude of that complex number, that is square root of 1 square plus 2 square, that is square root of 5. That comes out to be 2.23. But what will happen if we pass any other type of object? Let's see this by creating a custom class. Class, I will name it as my class. I will initialize its constructor, init self, and I will pass a string parameter to the constructor and I will initialize self.string is string. And now if I call the absolute function and pass a object that is an instance of this class, and it takes one parameter, so I will pass a string of my name, and now if I run the code, it will raise a type error. It says that bad operand type for absolute. This is because Python is not able to understand how to calculate the absolute value of this object. So we need to help Python by telling it how to calculate it. For that, we need to define a function inside a custom class like this, $absolute $. As it is an instance object, we will pass self, and inside this function we will write the logic to calculate the absolute function of this particular class. For this simple example, I will just return the length of the self string, and if I run this cell again, I get 6, that is the length of my string. This function can be used for many algorithms, mathematical operations, and a lot of other applications. The next function is the all function. This function takes one parameter which should be an iterable. This iterable can be a list, a tuple, or any other iterable that can be looped upon. If we pass a list of boolean values, that is say false and false, it will give me a false value. This is because this all function is doing element wise and of all the boolean values that are passed inside this list. So false and false gives me false. Similarly, if I do all inside this a list of false and true, it will still give me a false value because false and true is again false. And if I do for true and true, now this will return me true. This all function will return true only if all the parameters all the elements that are present in the list is true. I will copy this and paste it over here, and I will replace all the list to tuples. As you can see, all the lists are converted to tuples, that is using a rounded brackets. And now if I run the cell again, I get the same output as before, because the element wise AND operation is performed irrespective of whether we have passed a list or a tuple or any other iterable. But passing a boolean to this function is not used that much. This is because it calculates all the booleans first and then performs the element wise AND. But sometimes we want to check for error conditions like bounds of an array as the first condition, and then access the element of that index in the second condition. So to demonstrate this, I will initialize a dummy array that contains only one element. I will make a variable of index, that is I equal to 1. This is a 0 based index, so I equal to 1 does not exist in this array. So if I call the all function and I pass a list inside it, and I check whether I is greater than -1, I is less than length of a, and if a of I equal 1, that is we are checking if I, that is the index, is between 0 and length of a minus 1, and we will check if the element at this index inside this array is equal to 1. This condition can be anything, but it should access this element. Now if I run the code, it will throw an index error because all the boolean values have been calculated before performing the AND operation, and we don't want this. If any of the two conditions over here are false, then we don't need to check for this condition, because anything and false is false. And if you are checking something like this, then you should definitely use AND operator over here. So I will copy this conditions and paste it over here, and instead of commas I will put AND operators, and as you can see I get a false value. This is because this condition has become false over here only, and once this becomes false, the Python code did not check for this condition, because anything and false is false. So in this way, for checking of boundary conditions, you can use AND operator instead of all function. So what are the other uses of the all function? In Python, empty strings, empty iterables, and zero numeric values are considered as false, and non-empty strings, non-empty iterables, and non-zero numeric values are considered as true. So if the elements of this array are one of these types, we can find various uses of this function as well. For example, if we pass a list of, say, strings, I will pass an empty string first. It will give me false because all the elements of the list are empty. Similarly, if we pass a list containing one non-empty string and one empty string, still it will return false, like this. But if I pass two non-empty strings, or then it will return true. This is similar to this condition, where if we pass all the values as true, then only it will return true. Similarly for strings, if all the values are non-empty, it will return true. You can also pass an iterable of iterables inside this all function. So let's demonstrate this. I will pass a list of list. First I will pass two empty lists like this, and the answer is false because both the lists are empty. If I pass one empty list and another non-empty list with any value, then it will return false again because one list is empty over here. And if I pass all the values, that is, if I pass all the lists as non-empty, with any dummy values, I will get a result of true. You can also pass an iterable of numeric values that you can use to see if the iterable contains all non-zero values or not. So let's pass a list of zeros. It will give me a false value. And if I pass a list of 1 0 and 1 non-zero, it will still return me a false value. But if I pass a list of all non-zero values, then it will return me a true value because all the values are non-zero over here. You can also pass a combination of data types in a list to this function too. So for example, I am passing a list which contains a string, a list, and an integer. So it will check if the string is non-empty, if the list is non-empty, and the integer that is passed is non-zero. And if all the conditions are true, then only it will return true. Now you might wonder where this function will be used. So for the string cases, we can use this on the server side scripts where you want to validate if the user has entered all the required text inputs or not. So we can check uh, by passing a list of all the user inputs inside the all function to see if the strings are non-empty or not. Similarly, for data science applications, you want all the arrays that you get should be non-empty so that you can perform operations on it. So you can pass these arrays or lists inside the all function again. And for some applications, you might want that all the numbers in an array should be non-zero, so you can pass a list of integers inside the all function to check if all the values are non-zero or not. If you are finding this video informative, do press the like button. It encourages me to make more useful videos like this. The next function is the any function. It is very similar to the all function, but it returns the element-wise OR instead of element-wise AND. To demonstrate the usage of this, I will convert all alls to all any's. And as you can see, if I run the program again, I will get false for the first case. This has not changed, but this second output has changed because any one value inside this list is true, so that will return true. But this function will return false only if all the elements of the list that is passed inside the any function is false, and passing all true values inside the any function will again return true. And you can do this for tuples instead of list as well. The output will not change as before. See, false, true, true. Same goes for this condition. If we pass any, I will comment this out and try to run this. It will again lead to an index error. Just like the all function, any function also calculates all the boolean values first and then performs element-wise OR operation on it. The program will crash if any of the conditions passed inside this list can cause an error. So instead of using any function, you can use OR keyword and it will return true because I is greater than -1 becomes true, and as this condition becomes true, it will stop checking for other conditions because anything or true is true, so it will just return away true and we will not crash our program over here. Passing a boolean value to the any function is again not that used much, and its widely used functionality is by passing other data types. So just like all function, we can pass strings to this function and it will return false, true, true. If I change this, it will give me false, true, true. And over here also, if I change all alls to any, it will give me false, true, true as well. Similarly, we can pass a combination of data types inside a list to the any function, and it will still check if any of the element fulfills the true condition. The next function is the ascii function. It takes one parameter which should be a string. So if I pass ascii and I pass a normal string, say my name, it will return me a string representation of my string. Nothing so special about it. But if we pass special escape characters like new line, tabs, like this, \n, \t, it will convert all special characters to normal / character and n and t characters, like this. So it has escaped the / character. This use case is useful when you are taking input from users where you want to capture / as it is, or you don't want to allow using special escape characters to users. So these were all the built-in functions that start with letter A. If you ended up liking this video, please press that like button, comment any feedbacks that you have for this video or this channel, share this video with your friends. The code that I write in all my videos of this channel is available in my GitHub profile, whose link is in the description. You can connect to me via LinkedIn, whose link is again in the description. And I will see you in the next video.